Well, I'm going to get started. Thanks everybody for coming to our informational session tonight. I'm going to get started. There's a pretty small group of us, but we'll go through a formal kind of overview of the program using the PowerPoint, which you should see on your screen. And I'm going to introduce a few people to you. I believe that Hannah is recording this session, so it will be posted so that you or other people can view it to get the information in case they weren't able to come to one of these sessions. I'm Lucy Mercier, and I'm a faculty member in the Department of Social Work and the director of the Master of Social Work program. I have with me my colleague, Dr. Mark Giesler, and I'll let him say hi.
Hi, everybody. Greetings. I'm, part of the MSW program and teach a whole bunch of courses, which maybe I'll tell you about.
Good, thank you. And then I also invited Brianna Reed to join us today. Brianna is the Field Education Office Assistant and a recent alumni from our MSW program. And later on, I'll ask her to talk a little bit about her experience as a student, but she's representing our Field Education Office tonight. You want to say anything, Bri?
Hi, everyone. I'm glad that you guys all hopped on Zoom with everyone being busy and everything like that to hear about the program.
And I saw your message, Brenna, and it's absolutely fine. I'm enjoying your avatar there. It's a Barbie doll. Brenna says that she's unstable, and so she's off camera. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to run through sort of our standard PowerPoint program, which talks about, sort of the basic stuff. And then we're going to have as much time as you need for questions and answers at the end of this presentation. So the Master of Social Work degree is the advanced degree in the social work profession. And what that means is that people with an MSW can get licensed at the state level and practice independently. And we'll talk a little bit more about the kinds of jobs or other questions you have about career opportunities in a moment. Our program, because we're located in the College of Health and Human Services, has a special focus on interprofessional education. That's part of the mission of the college. The MSW program has a focus on diversity, competence, empowerment, social justice. We also focus on research-informed practice in social work. And a couple of special things about our program. We have developed our curriculum so that we incorporate opportunities for students to learn outside the classroom in ways that have a high impact in learning about social work as a career, about social work skills, and about the kind of social work practice knowledge that will help prepare them for getting a job. The program itself was developed in the last, maybe 5 years ago. We surveyed local, regional agencies and asked them what they were looking for when they wanted to hire MSWs for their staff. And what they told us is that they wanted to have staff members who could do direct practice, so micro level work, including case management and psychotherapy and group work. But they also wanted to hire people who could step into leadership positions relatively quickly in their agencies. They're looking for people who could be program managers, program directors, supervisors, agency directors, and so on. And so our program focuses on the preparation of leadership even for beginning level MSW graduates. All MSW programs have a specialization. So if you looked around at different MSW programs in the state of Michigan, you would find all kinds of specializations ranging from micro practice or therapy practice, clinical practice with children, or clinical practice with the aging, community organization, gerontology, policy work, and so on. Our specialization, and we only have one, is Advanced Generalist. And what that means is that students in our program are trained in both micro and macro social work practice. So everybody who graduates from our program is able to, or is prepared to take both, or either the clinical or macro LMSW licensing exam after graduation. So we have a core of classes that are Advanced Generalist, and in addition, we require every student must take 6 credits of electives, and these electives are offered both in micro social work practice and in more macro social work practice. So students could select to do their 6 additional credits all in clinical work, or they could do all 6 credits in policy and leadership work, or they could take some of each, which is what most students do, is they take some of each type of elective credit. We'll talk more about electives in a moment. Some of you may have questions about that. Anybody have any, Mark or Brianna, want to add to any of this so far? I've done this PowerPoint so many times, I feel like I sometimes just power on through it. I think the best part is the question. So let me proceed. We have 2 tracks, a regular MSW program and an advanced standing MSW program. The difference between the 2 programs is the number of credits and the admissions requirements. Both programs get you a Master of Social Work degree, which is what's required to get licensed as a social worker in the state. But the students that get into the Advanced Standing MSW program are students who have a Bachelor of Social Work degree that's newer than 5 years old, and they have a GPA in the last 60 credits that meets our standards. Everyone else is eligible to apply to the regular MSW program. So if you don't have a BSW in the last 5 years and you don't meet the admissions requirements, then you would be applying to the regular MSW program. I have a couple of slides in a moment that will detail those admissions criteria in just a second. And we'll also be sending you documents that describe both tracks in detail. In addition, each of the tracks has an option to go fast or go slow. So the regular MSW program has 2 options, either a 2-year or a 3-year option. It's exactly the same program, same classes. It's just that there are fewer classes each semester if you take the 3-year option. The Advanced Standing MSW program has either a 1-year or a 2-year option, and those options again are exactly the same courses. They just, one of them is faster than the other. I've included on this slide an estimate of the cost of the 2 tracks based on 2019 SVSU tuition and fees. So the cost that's listed includes tuition. Graduate tuition is more expensive than undergraduate tuition, plus all of the fees that are required for taking the courses in the program over the entire program. So the regular MSW program, $35,000, or doesn't matter if you do 2 years or 3 years, and so on. All right, so both of the regular and advanced standing program applications are open now. They open today, and they will be open until November 28th. So if you want to apply for our program, you must complete the application by November 28th of 2020. There are supporting documents that are required, including references, and we must receive those supporting documents by December 12th. What that means for you is that if you intend to apply to our program, you need to do it sooner rather than later, so that people who are writing references, or if you have to request transcripts, that allows time for those documents to be received by us so that we can process your application. Once we have a complete application, everything's been turned in, you've completed the online form and all the documents are received, then a committee consisting of the MSW faculty review your applications, and admissions decisions will be conveyed to you by the end of February. If you're applying to the Advanced Standing program, that only gives you a few weeks before you start the field placement process. If you're doing the one-year option, then you'll be starting field placement pretty quickly after you graduate, if you're a current student. And so at the end of February is the latest that we would have those admissions decisions made. Regular MSW classes start in the summer. At SVSU, the summer starts in July. And Advanced Standing MSW students start in spring or May. So if you are applying to, if you're a current student and you're applying to our program, please understand that you must have graduated before you start the graduate program. You have to have a completed undergraduate degree before you start taking graduate classes. So if you're, for example, if you're a current Bachelor of Social Work student and you're going to finish all your social work classes, but you still have a couple of electives to take to complete your degree, and you're taking them in the spring semester, you wouldn't be eligible to start the MSW program in the spring because you wouldn't be done with your BSW degree and graduated. Do you have questions about that? I'll be happy to answer them as well. Okay. So we have handouts, which we will mail to you, that show the courses that are taken semester by semester for each of the two programs, the regular and the Advanced Standing programs. And so we're a cohort-based program. So when you come in, when you're admitted, you have to take courses in a certain order. And those courses are only offered on certain semesters. So when you enter the program, you will be traveling through the program with the group of students that were admitted with you. And though our core classes meet on Fridays, so school is all day Friday, every Friday, for the entire time that you're in the program. Electives, because we don't have enough time to also offer them on Fridays, are generally scheduled on Saturdays. We have had a few electives. We had one elective that was completely online, and another elective that met on I think on a Thursday night. So those electives are scheduled so that if you are in field placement or have a job, that you should know that all day Friday and probably some Saturdays will be taken up with classwork. The Master of Social Work program requires field education, and in the regular MSW program, there are 4 semesters of field work over 2 years, and field is 16 hours a week. So in addition to class all day on Friday, most students also have 2 full weekdays that they're in field education. Most field work is 2 8-hour days a week. There's some variance in that depending on the agency in which students are placed. So it's possible that some students are doing 1 8-hour day and 2 4-hour days, depending on where they're placed and when. Most of our field education happens Monday through Friday during business hours, but again, there are some exceptions to that. For example, community mental health is a crisis program, and we have some students that are working late evenings and weekends with the crisis program. This is a new bullet point for me. The workload in our program is substantial. I forget, because I graduated from an MSW program too, it's a lot more credits than a lot of graduate programs. And so we used to call the options full-time and part-time until I realized that many of our part-time students were taking what the university considered to be a full-time load, which is 9 graduate credits a semester. Our full-time students sometimes take 13 or 15 graduate credits a semester, which is almost twice what's considered a full-time load. Between field education, 2 days a week, and 3 or sometimes 4 classes a week, the workload in our program is substantial. It's about the same workload as other MSW programs, but the MSW is a degree that requires quite a lot of coursework, a lot of credits, a lot of field work, and we can answer questions about that. I do think it's good to have your eyes open about that when you enter a program such as ours. So let's talk a little bit about field. I can't tell from the people who are on here. It looks like Brenna's a BSW student. Eileen, are you and am I saying your name right?
Ashleen, I graduated in 2016 with my BSW.
Yeah, I remember you now. Okay, so you're a BSW. Megan and Allison, are you guys BSWs?
Yeah, I'm a BSW.
Okay. How about you, Megan? Are you there? Okay, I'll just proceed. So if you're a BSW student, you know the deal about field. If you are not a BSW student, you need to know field is really important. So in the regular MSW program, students have to complete 960 hours of field education in our program. That occurs in 2 agency placements over 4 semesters, 16 hours a week. Advanced standing students get credit for their undergraduate field placement. And so they only have to do 1 placement, and it's a total of 600 hours. It's summer, little short, 7-week summer semester, plus fall and winter. And it's 16 hours a week. Our field office approves placement settings and arranges for students and field placement agencies to meet each other and agree to the placement through a series of interviews. So students are not expected to find their own placements. We have approved placements all over the state. Most students are placed near where they live, although that can't be guaranteed. And our official policy is that students should have at least 1 day a week, if not 2, available for agency-based field placement when they're going to, in those semesters when they're doing field placement. We cannot guarantee that you will find a placement that's just evenings and weekends.
Lucy, Megan did respond in the chat,
Oh, yes.
chat room. She's an English major. So
Oh, great. I love those English majors because they can write, you guys. There's a lot of writing in our program. Okay, so Megan, if you have extra questions about field placement, not having had the undergraduate experience of this, I would be so happy to have you ask them in the chat or however, and so we can talk about it. We have lots of people here who've done field placement, so they can maybe give you a heads up on what to expect. We have in the regular program students from all kinds of backgrounds, and I so enjoy teaching them. Don't you, Mark? I love the diversity of students in that program. So we have communications and psych and political science and English, all kinds of things, and music and art. And so you don't have to come into our program with a background in social work. The extra credits that the regular degree students take is the foundation that gets them ready for the advanced year placement. So there's lots of support for students too. It's probably scary, but there's lots of support for students to learn about the program, to learn about social work, and sort of start out with the beginning placement so that they kind of get their feet wet as they move into it. Field placement is, though, Agency-based learning. So it's off campus with an agency field instructor that we've approved, who actually works in that agency with you and essentially trains you to think like a social worker, learn about social work roles in the agency setting, practice social work activities and under supervision. There's a curriculum that goes with that. So it's a great immersion experience in our profession. Speaking of immersion experiences, we, as I said, focus on learning experiences that have a high impact and often are outside of the classroom. Field education is one of those. And that's standard for all MSW programs. We also, and this is a weird thing because this year, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to travel, but we developed this program with two very specific travel experiences that are required for every student. The first one, which we call the Chicago trip, we didn't go to Chicago this year, we did a virtual Chicago immersion, requires a 3-day trip to Chicago on the train with faculty and students traveling and staying together, where we learned about social work history, so that's the birthplace of social work, ethics and cultural competence. It's a class, the 3-day trip is a class, and it's paid for out of the student fee that's associated with those classes. And the whole entire 3-day trip is the only face-to-face meetings that students have in that class. We also require a 3-day immersion on agency leadership, which we had been calling the Detroit trip. We're doing those trips virtually this year as well, since we can't really travel. And again, that's paid for out of student fees. And in the past has been a trip to to Detroit to look at innovative social service agencies and the way programs are running and take a look at urban social services. Many of our students haven't really had the opportunity to do that. And then finally, all students are required to participate in an integrative project that is a small group faculty-led evaluation project with a community agency. So students are divided into small groups of around, this year it's about 8. I have 8 in my group. How about you, Mark? Yeah, I like that. Faculty-led, we partner with an agency and actually complete program evaluation or some other research project with that agency. It's student designed, student-led, student accomplished, and it's a really cool thing to be able to put on your resume when you're job hunting. Agencies want you to know how to do evaluation. We could talk about it in the classroom, but it's much better to actually do a project and have that document that you can say, look, I'm an author on this. I don't know, I'm personally a big proponent of getting out of the classroom and talking to students and interacting with students in a real life environment. So I think it's very cool. And it's probably a lot of work. But I remember doing a project similar to this on my own in my MSW program. And this is a whole lot more fun than that. So we're, as part of the College of Health and Human Services, involved in the interprofessional education initiative of the college, which includes mega simulations with nursing, OT, so OT is occupational therapy, health sciences, kinesiology, and social work. And faculty, students, faculty, and staff get together once a semester to learn about interprofessional practice. And we have usually a simulation or case study that we work on and in small groups. And that's part of our curriculum. Okay. Regular MSW admissions criteria. So listen to both of these, even if you think, oh, I'm doing advanced NA or, oh, I'm just doing regular. Just pay attention to both because I probably shouldn't say this, but whatever program you apply to, I will review the application. And if it looks like you're eligible for the other one, I may contact you and say, are you sure you applied to the right program? Or, you know, did you really want to apply to that program? So students who are eligible for advanced standing could apply to the regular MSW program if you decide that you would prefer to take a slower route to the degree. And this might be true for some students who just feel like they want to grow a little bit and they want to take a little bit more time and review some of the material. So the criteria for admission to the regular MSW program is a bachelor's degree in any discipline from an accredited college or university. And if your Bachelor of Social Work degree is more than 5 years old, you have to apply to the regular MSW. You're not eligible for advanced standing, okay? We prefer a GPA of 3.0 or higher in your most recent 60 credits, and we calculate that for you. So you don't have to. We're not looking at the GPA, the total GPA for your degree. We're going to take your transcripts and do math to calculate your last 60 credits and what your GPA is for that. If you have a GPA lower than 3.0 for those last 60 credits, you may petition to be considered for admission. So if you don't meet that 3.0 criteria, you're allowed to submit a petition generally explaining why your GPA is lower than that and asking to please be considered for admission anyway. So there's some leeway about what the GPA requirement for the regular program. You still have to complete the application form, and we must have official copies of all of your transcripts. Now, if the only place you ever went to college is at SVSU, we already have that. You don't have to apply for transcripts if they're already at SVSU. And if you went to a community college and then came to SVSU to get your bachelor's degree and you already had your community college transcripts transferred to SVSU, you don't have to get them again. We have access to the registrar's office transcripts. So we need transcripts if we don't already have them, okay? There is a personal reflection, a writing sample, if you will. There are 2 questions that are on the application. The questions are to be written at your leisure and submitted with your application as a file. It's not, if you were a BSW applicant and you know there's that timed writing sample, it's not like that. You respond to these 2 questions and submit the personal statement along with all the other documents that you're required to submit. We also will require a resume from you. So that's not part of the admissions criteria, but just know that we're asking for a resume. We do need 3 references for your application from educators, employers, or supervisors. So teachers, field supervisors, work stuff. 3 references. We need names and email addresses in order for you to complete that section of the form. We have to get 3 back. So you're going to ask for 3 of them, and then the graduate office is going to keep you up to date on when we receive those documents. Sometimes students request references from people who never send them in. So I would recommend that you get together more than 3 names, contact those references and ask them if they would be willing to write you a reference, and let them know that you're going to include their names so that they could look for the request, which will come by email. And then if somebody doesn't respond, you can contact them again. And if they still don't respond, you can submit another person's name. Remember, we have to get this back mid-December if you want to be considered for admission. If you are an international student and your native language is not English, you have to submit your English language scores as well. Okay, so that's for the regular MSW program. The admissions criteria for the advanced standing program is slightly different, although substantially the same. You have to have a BSW degree from an accredited program that was granted in the past 5 years. You have a higher GPA standard. Because of the accelerated nature of the program, we're looking for students who are going to be able to manage to do a graduate program in 1 year. at the fast option for this. So you have to have a GPA of 3.25 or higher in the last 60 credits, and there are no exceptions to that criteria. So sometimes people apply to the program and they miss this. They're still eligible to get into the regular MSW program. You have to complete the application form. We need your transcripts and your personal statement. The questions are the same for either program. And then 3 references. For the advanced standing program, you must submit, of the 3 references, 1 of them must be from your field placement. And then again, if you're a non-native English speaker, you must submit your English language scores. Okay. We're fully accredited by the Council on Social Work Education. Yay. Took us a lot of work to get that done, but we are fully accredited at this point. Every student who graduates from our program is eligible to apply for licensure from the state, and you need to graduate from an accredited program in all the states in the United States in order to get licensed as a social worker. There is a link to the application here, and it is open now. So maybe I'll link on that in just a second and show you what that first page looks like. What you will need is a username and password, which you will generate to get into this application. It's not going to change your SVSU username and ID, so just know that it's a temporary thing for this application. If you have an SVSU ID, you're still going to have to do a new one for this system. You're going to need the professional reflection, which is the writing sample, and the questions are available, and I'll show you on the site. We're asking you to please put identifying information only on the cover page of your reflection. So don't put it at the top of every page. We have to go through and remove identifying information before your reflection is scored by the writing committee. And I really don't want to have to go through and take it off of 4 pages when I could just remove the cover page. We'll need your transcripts, 3 names and email addresses for your references, and then your English language score if you need it. So let me see if this is going to take us. Ta-da! It does. All right, so this is the application information, and there are the requirements, the instructions, dates and deadlines. So I'm going to, hold on. So under application requirements, the professional reflection link is the link to the questions, so that if you'd like to do that first, you'll be able to get the questions and upload it. And it just goes back through the stuff that I just talked to you about. So I think it's pretty straightforward, although I'll be happy to answer questions. Let's see what else I have here. Okay, contact info. Hannah's already put her text and email into the chat. And here is mine. You can text me on my cell phone or email me if you have questions. I will be more than happy to direct you to somebody if you want to have a longer individual conversation about the program or the admissions requirements. Hannah is our go-to person for helping with the application process. So if you're having trouble with the system, or you're not sure that things got uploaded, or you're not sure that documents were received, somebody said they were and they weren't, she's a person who has access to all of that before it is sent to us for determining your admissions status. So she can get into the program and look at everything and answer those kind of technical questions. Do you want to say anything else about that, Hannah, before we take other questions?
I will say our application is currently in management. They're working on it. So the whole system. So all of our applications right now are just kind of frozen. So you won't be able to apply tonight, but likely starting tomorrow afternoon, you'll be able to at least start the application, but you can start those questions ahead of time. And also yeah, so feel free if you need to text, call myself or our office. If you have any questions, we do have a video on our website too that kind of walks you through some of the
Oh,
important
yeah.
don't want you to miss. But you know, if you need any verification, like not verification, but if you just need to check through, make sure that you're doing it right, let us know.
Okay, so that's it that I have. I don't know, do Brianna and Mark want to add anything that you think I should have talked about?
Can't think of anything off the top of my head, so maybe we'll be able to do that with questions.
Okay. Okay. Brenda says, I'll take a year off. Brenda, if you don't intend, if you don't intend to start the program until spring of 22, then you should apply next fall. You can apply this year, be accepted, and then defer admission, but I don't know why you would when you can apply next year. So Brenna said she plans to take a year off. And so I guess I'm recommending that you apply next fall. Sometimes students who take a year off don't come back. So I encourage you to come back. It's easy to get sucked up into the world of working and paying off your student loans and all that stuff. So applications always open for us mid-October. And if you watch the graduation office website, and I think they send out an announcement to, do our alumni get it, Hannah?
There are a couple different announcements that go out. If you've showed interest before, we send something out, or if you did one of these, or if you apply or start the application and don't complete it, but so a little bit of both.
Brenna would likely get an announcement next year because she was here tonight.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, okay. All right, who has a question? You can either type it in or just speak up. There's so few of us, we don't need to be unmuted unless you want to be. First come, first serve. Well, you have to make the deadline. You don't get any particular advantage, Bridget, from getting your application in early, other than my gratitude and my feeling like you must have your act together to get everything turned in right away. In the past couple of years, we have assessed applicants and determine whether they are eligible or not eligible for our program first. And then the faculty look at everybody who's clearly eligible, and we generally admit them. And then people whose scores are a little more marginal, so they get scored on their writing sample, their GPA, we look at your resume and look at your life experiences and things like that. You get a score for that. And then people who are, we're not quite sure, those are the students for whom there may be some discussion about admission. We have a goal of admitting at least 40 advanced standing and at least 20 regular MSW students. And that is our agreement with the university. And for the last 2 years, we've admitted considerably more than that. Because we had so many eligible applicants. So in fact, this year we've grown the regular MSW program so that instead of just having one section of classes, we have two. So, so that's a nuanced answer to your first come, first serve. We definitely look at every application that we receive by the deadline.
Lucy, Ashleen has a question about references and wondering who they might be. And so I think that's a fairly easy one to answer, right?
Yes, Ashleen, we are looking for your field instructor, not your clinical supervisor.
Can she use her current?
Your current job supervisor? Is that what you mean by LMSW supervisor?
Yeah, I think she does.
Yes, I was trying to find out if we had to track down our BSW field instructor from the program or if we could use another social worker that we currently work for.
So we're looking for we're looking for a reference from somebody who supervised your educational experience. You can also use that LMSW supervisor for another reference, but we're looking in the advanced standing program for the person who is involved in the field education aspect of that. If you can't find your field instructor, perhaps you can contact the agency and get the director or somebody who knew about your experience there to write a reference. Okay, good question. Trying to see if I missed anything. Megan wants to know, can you work? Virtually all of our students work. And some of them work way more than I want them to. Financing your MSW program is difficult. You can't get grants in graduate education. So your Pell Grant or whatever you use to pay for your undergraduate is not available for graduate students. So students are generally financing the program through a combination of student loans, private scholarships, and SVSU has a very nice scholarship application system where you can get small-ish, $1,000, $1,500 scholarships, and part-time work. Some students work full-time. I don't recommend it. I don't know how they manage, but nearly everybody works. Many people are working full-time in agencies that they were working in before they started the program, so they're flexing their hours so that they're working 4 days a week, or they're working on the weekends, or if they've gone down to half-time while they're in the program. And it's hard. Doing the slow option in your program means that you don't have field placement the first year. So you can take some classes, get them out of the way, and not have field placement the first year of that program, whether it's advanced standing or regular. And then again, you have field placement the rest of the program. So then you start the 3-day-a-week thing. But nearly everybody has a job in the program. It wants to know if we're going to receive a code. The app fee. Hannah's going to put it in something, put it in the chat. Okay.
And then Ashleen also asked about the electives that are going to be offered this coming school year. I know they vary. They're going to they'll be, they're never quite the same, but we do have a lot that repeat.
Yeah, so Mark will help me remember some of the electives. Generally, we offer a variety of electives. Some of them are more clinical. Some of them are more social justice or community focused and more macro. And what we do is we pilot stuff, and if it's popular and successful, then we often offer it again. And so generally we offer the same things from year to year with some new additions for current topics and that sort of thing. Hi, Denise. And so it varies from trauma-informed social work practice. We have advanced practice courses for working with children and for adults and families and couples. Case management, advanced
substance abuse treatment.
Substance abuse. We have a very popular class called Dear White People. That's obviously focused on race and racism. What else? Dr. Dedman is here. Say hi.
Hi.
Another faculty member.
We do crisis intervention.
Crisis intervention.
And the very practical but unsexy case management.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so we have a new faculty member who is interested in offering a course on what I think I'm going to insist we call social work entrepreneurship. So about private practice, about the law, and and practical aspects of being a private practice clinician. So a variety of things that include what the faculty is interested in teaching or what we can find faculty to teach. And they're offered, we have elective courses offered spring, summer, fall, and winter. Okay. Okay, references. So Megan, what we are looking for are people who can talk about your, frankly, communication skills. Are you organized, motivated, smart? Can you work well with others, right? Because are you suited to the profession? So when we ask for references, what we don't want are the kind of character references or personal references that come from someone who says, I knew her when she was a little girl and she's so sweet. We don't want that. We want people who have worked with you, watched you do things that are that show initiative and organization and the ability to communicate well, to work with others, to complete coursework, which is why educators are really great references. But to some degree, your transcript speaks to that as well. So if you've been out of school for a while and you don't really have references like that, then use a work supervisor if you did some volunteer work, even if it's not in social services. So I think some of my best references have come from students, employers, like at restaurants who say, she worked as a wait staff for me and she manages herself, keeps her temper, she's really well organized, she's great with people, she's reliable. Those are great references, right? And I think that you want to find somebody who can really talk about your strengths in a knowledgeable way, but in a professional way. So not personal, she's lots of fun and I've known her since she was 10. Those are not the kinds of references we are looking for. So as long as you can find somebody who can say nice things about you and your work and your concern for helping others, then that would be great. Trying to read the chat while I blah, blah, blah. Anything else? Other questions, folks? I would like Brianna to talk a little bit about her experience as a student, and I've assured her she can be honest. So did you graduate last May? Are you a COVID grad?
Yeah, I'm a COVID grad.
So you want to talk a little bit about the program, what you learned, not what you learned, but what you learn about being in the program? What do you think students should know or potential students should know?
Yeah. I graduated with my BSW in 2019. And then I just graduated with my MSW this past May. So I was a 1 year advanced standing student. So I did the program from once I graduated, the week after I graduated and walked across the stage, we went to Chicago for our Chicago trip. So I started May all the way to this past May. Nonstop, we got 2 weeks in August, and then we had the winter break between December to January for our breaks. So it's very fast paced. It's very, the workload, like Lucy said, the workload is very heavy. With jobs, while I was in the program, I had 2 part-time jobs. I had like a little side job I was doing as well too. So if you count that as 3, I had my field placement, so I was doing that 2 times a week. And then I also had my workload with everything that we did, like with the immersive. So we did our group projects. We had, sometimes we even had like study groups with my friends. So I also had a social life as well, which was amazing part about that. But one of the big things is that I didn't want to go get my MSW. I thought I would get my BSW and just go work, until one of my friends talked me into getting my MSW at the time. I'm glad that she did, because it was one of the best decisions that I made. I'm able to get more job opportunities. As an MSW, a lot of jobs are looking for MSWs right now. I feel more confident in by getting out of this program. I recently just got a job as a coordinator in at a family services in Detroit, right down the street from the church we stayed at in Detroit, which is amazing. But one of the things I learned from the program was that I took DSM and film with Mark this past semester, and I thought it was very knowledgeable because of knowing so much from that class, I was able to get this job. So thank you, Mark. But a lot of the stuff that I learned in the MSW made me more confident as a social worker, and made me more knowledgeable. It's made me help me practice more of my clinical skills, as well as my macro skills. So I'm confident in being a supervisor over others, but I'm also able to talk with clients and things like that. Two of the things that I would probably say for all of you that are coming in is that do a program that works best for you. I know a lot of people that are applying, they either have families, they have kids, they have pups probably at home that they need to take care of, other obligations. So do a program that works best for you. If you are doing the full-time or the 1-year advanced standing program, and it's getting kind of rough with obligations, things like that, I would suggest talking to Lucy about that, especially if you want to go down to part-time, and maybe that will help with your workload with family and things like that. I know a couple of people that went from full-time down to part-time, and it actually became more easier because they either had like children at home that they need to take care of, especially with COVID. A lot of kids are doing things virtually and they have to be at home. And then another thing is to, I forgot the other thing, but that's one things I would tell people is that do the program that works best for you. If you need that extra help and you think you probably need to start at the beginning with introduction to social work and things like that and research, I would suggest taking the regular standing. There are some people that did graduate with a BSW, but thought that maybe they need like that extra help or to start fresh. So they were able to do that. But if you are in advanced standing and you want to move down and because of obligations, you're able to do that as well too. So thank you, Lucy.
Thanks, Brianna. I think that there are lots of things in that bunch of stuff that you just talked about. First of all, congratulations on that job.
Thank you.
That's great. So employment is really, really strong for MSWs right now. There are lots of job opportunities for people. And so that's a really encouraging sign. If you're going to spend money and getting a graduate degree, it would be nice if you could get a job. And so I haven't seen such a strong job market in this region for MSWs in a really long time. I've been at SVSU for a long time. So job market looks good. And there's some variation in the types of jobs that are available, but lots and lots of the students are taking clinical jobs to start, which then kind of rapidly turn into having more responsibilities. We're hosting our first licensure test prep class for our alumni right now on Zoom. And I think all but maybe 2 of the students are planning to take the clinical license exam. And I think that's sort of reflective of where they're at in terms of their jobs and practice. And I think Brenna asked, oh, okay, you answered. Thank you, Denise, for handling the chat. The other thing is about maybe you want to talk to a faculty before you decide what do you want to be full-time or part-time, and do you want to be in the regular or the advanced standing program. If you need to kind of talk that through with somebody, you can email me and I will set you up with one of the faculty to kind of have that discussion. Brianna's very nice in telling you to contact me if you want to change from full-time to part-time, but you need to know that that is a giant pain to do. If we can avoid it, we try to. And the reason is that, remember I said we're cohort style. So if you're in the middle of being one kind of student and you want to be another, you might have to step out until the next group comes through for you to join. So if you started in one option and you wanted to go to the other, those classes that you would be stepping into might not be available in the next semester. So we really want you to talk to us all the way through to make sure that you're planning ahead. We want to get you out and graduated as quickly as possible. So good communication is really important. Okay. What else?
Is it okay if I add something, Lucy? One of the things about this program, because it's a large, you're in a large cohort, is that you really aren't alone in this program. I said this to the other group last week, is that you all cry alone. You all go out, or not cry alone. You all cry together. You all go out together. You because even though I haven't seen any of my friends since March, we probably text every single day to make sure that we're all sane with everything COVID going on. So really in this program, you really aren't alone. You, especially with like the group work that how much group work that you do and how much immersion trips that you go on. You talk to the same people every day. You're in the class with the same people every day, or not every day, but every Friday. So it's a really great program, and it's different from other programs because of that inclusion that you have with other people.
That's good to hear. We try really hard. Current students probably aren't so happy about all the group work, but we do think that it's realistic. Social workers work in teams all the time, and so we want people to learn how to do that and be productive with all of the frustration of that, right?
In real life, in agencies, you can't accomplish much as the Lone Ranger. You really have to be able to work with other social workers in your agency or connive with social workers outside your agency to get things done. And it is kind of a pain in the neck in work life. And I know group work is kind of a pain in the neck in classes. But at the same time, students do well. I mean, they get good grades on group projects and they learn how to negotiate the hassle of somebody who isn't coming to meetings and jack them up. And, you know, we try to teach teamwork as a part of the curriculum by having you do it a lot and by having you appraise each other's efforts in doing it. And sometimes we step in and work with you on conflict management because it's a skill. You're not coming here equipped with the skill, and we expect you to learn it.
I don't know about you, but the storm just hit my house. I'm going to get up and close my window so it doesn't flood my room.
Oh, yes.
And Allison asked a really good question about the impact of COVID on the program, which Denise answered in the chat, but I did want to say a word or two. One moment.
Last spring, we decided to go all online in the fall. And I'm really glad we did, because we would have had considerable class disruption with students testing positive and things like that this semester. But taking the coursework as it is and just putting it in Zoom rather than breathe the air with each other classroom, I think has been really effective. I think in some ways I have students who actually discuss things more with Zoom than they do live, because there's no back row in Zoom. And so you really can't sit in the back and have your face be very, very small. And we will chide you if you have your camera turned off too often. So
I think we've been, in my conversation with other programs on campus, we've been really successful in moving to a completely online format. As Denise said, so we have students who are in field placement. Most students are in face-to-face field placement, which means that they're being exposed more or less. They can't totally isolate. And so we knew that if we brought all of those vectors together into a classroom, that we would have some issues with students who were unable to attend because they have to isolate for a few days while they're waiting tests and that sort of thing. And so we early elected to just be completely online, and I was confident the faculty would be able to manage that. And honestly, I think we've done a really good job. Going forward, we will exercise as much caution as we can to make sure that students can get through the program successfully and still meet all the requirements. We have these competency requirements from our accreditors that we can't slack on. So we need to make sure that students are getting those things. And we've been pretty creative about how to make that happen. If we have to do that next year, God forbid, but if we have to do that next year, we will. And I'm pretty confident that we'll be successful at doing that.
We'll be really good because we've practiced a year.
yeah.
But the other thing is, just, and maybe, Denise mentioned or intimated this, we make every effort to do virtual learning synchronously, meaning that we have live classes. So you'll never feel sort of disconnected or lost from your instructor or your peers for that matter, because every Friday you'll be meeting, via Zoom
for hours.
With somebody. Well, for hours, but not every class. I mean, different classes do different configurations there, but this is not, we leave you hanging and figuring out what to do on Canvas for a semester. I mean, there's constant check-ins. And as Lucy was talking, your advisor's there if you have questions or concerns. But truly, we want you to be connected to us in the program, and I think we're doing a pretty good job with that via Zoom.
We do Zoom office hours, and I have found with some of my students in the 2-semester research class that's kind of the capstone project, that I'm actually hearing more from these students to troubleshoot things in a group because they can meet more frequently because they're not having to all drive to campus. And so they're meeting on Zoom, and one of them will text me and say, can you hop on? And I can come in and answer questions and then go away. So I can drop in on meetings at 9 o'clock on a Monday night when that's nowhere near what my office hours are, but I happen to answer a text.
Yeah, I have a small group project as well. And next week I'm meeting with them 3 separate times. The students are not all meeting 3 times, but I am meeting 3 times on Zoom. It's pretty convenient. I'm not going anywhere, so here I am. And I actually probably see more of those students than I would if we went to class once a week for a couple of hours. And so it's been good. I'm just saying, our intent is to go back to face-to-face. We're definitely a face-to-face program, but there will probably be some modification in our instruction model after all of this is over, just because we've learned so much about how to connect virtually. Yeah, I miss seeing the students face to face, but you know, we're doing okay. All right, what else? We have a few more minutes, and I don't want to keep people if we're not answering your questions, but what else? I want to make sure we got Megan. Megan's our English person, right? Okay. Okay, Brenna's good. Anybody else have any? Okay. Okay. So yeah, Megan, we're recording, and Hannah, you'll post this. She said she's having some connection issues, so she wants to watch a video.
That's another benefit to Zooming during COVID, is if somebody is really too sick to manage to get to class, they can watch the recorded class and pick up the details of things that would be more exacting than maybe somebody else's notes. So, you know, in class, we do a lot of application of stuff you studied outside of class. So you prep during the week and you come into class and do it. And if you miss the class and you're not doing it with the group, then you end up doing it on your own, but at least you got to hear the recording and watch the recording of the discussion of the nuances of the project.
Bridget, did we get everything from you? I look like everybody else is saying they're good. I want to make sure we got everything you needed.
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
Great.
All set.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm available if you need anything. Now you know Denise and Mark and Bree, and if you need anything, please contact us. Hopefully the application will be up and going in the morning. And Hannah and I had a good laugh about, of course, it's not working the first day. Yay. And so please let us know if you have any questions at all. The best way, if you have a question, an individual question, to get in touch with me is by email. And so if you just shoot me an email, I'll either set up a meeting with you or we can correspond, or however you want to do that. And if it's something that requires some discussion, I may refer you to one of the faculty for a conversation, just because I like to get students connected with those faculty who are going to be serving as their advisors going forward. But we hope to see your applications. And if you have any questions at all about anything, please let us know. And I think